Hello, and thank you for joining us on the Monday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, NLC, TUC leaders stage walkout at meeting with federal government over petrol electricity tariff hike, insist on revert to old price. Bandits storm Mosque during Juma'at sermon, kill 5 worshippers, kidnap Imam, 30 others in Zamfara states. Soldiers, civilian JTF members killed as Boko Haram launches attack on gun trucks. And later on the show, APC says PDP rattled by the visit of its governors to former President Jonathan as Ebonyi indigenes asked State Assembly to impeach Governor Dave Umahi over his defection. I'll be hanging out with Mayor Akipelu and Olabisi Diji Folutule. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. The best issue of the increase in the price of petrol and electricity tariff is still hanging over our heads as a country. While the federal government insists that there's no going back on the hike, organized labor wants revert to their old price. The latest meeting between the federal government and the labor on the matter ended in another deadlock. Leaders of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC, staged a walkout at the meeting in Abuja after complaining about government insincerity in the discussion. Let's share this video with you.
While these meetings were still ongoing, we were suddenly slapped with a new increase in petroleum prices. And we felt that was beyond what we had as an understanding with the government. And we felt that should be the first item for understanding today. But surprisingly, the government team felt otherwise. They felt that the issue of imaginary palliatives should be discussed before what is causing the need for the palliative should be discussed. And we felt that was putting the cart before the horse.
When has authority been given to NFC to increase the price of PMS? This is unacceptable. The meeting agenda is not well prioritized, and because of that, we are leaving the meeting. We will not continue. We'll go back to our organ, and we are going to get back to you on the next line of action.
The agenda for the meeting, we had to do some alterations, and they wanted a particular item discussed first before any other issues or other issues that we have front-loaded for the meeting. So they said they needed a recess. We had already a circulated agenda for the meeting. They have it. And in a meeting, if you want to change the agenda, everybody will agree. That is how meetings proceedings go.
Mayor, part of the responsibility we have is to lighten the public on, some reason government will be taking, this kind of policies, because to some Nigerians, it's just as if government will just wake up and want to inflict pains on them. So it's always better to, because of COVID-19, the price of crude oil in the international markets and, the economy as a whole, government had to take this move. Can you please shed more light why it was expedient for the price to come up?
I understand NLC and TUC. I understand their frustration, and it is their duty to protect workers and look for their best interest. But right now, Nigeria is between the devil and the deep blue sea. We have to be honest with ourselves. Nigeria is broke. Or even, okay, maybe Nigeria is not broke, but Nigeria is not buoyant. You understand? Nigeria is not buoyant. Most of the money you spend to run our budget, you borrow those money. And when you look at Nigeria, we cannot afford to do things the way we were doing things. The reality on ground is that government cannot continue to subsidize petroleum products. That is the reality on ground. So what they have done is the same thing they did with diesel and then later kerosene. If you remember that kerosene used to sell at 50 naira because government believed that, it's the masses that used to use kerosene. But eventually, they had to deregulate it, and it sells about 200 naira, thereabout now. So governments cannot continue to subsidize petroleum products because there are different issues. One, because of COVID-19, at the height of COVID-19, a lot of industrial nations were not producing. America used to be our #1 oil buyer. But eventually, because of the shale oil thing, they stopped buying our oil. So most of the people we now rely on China and India to buy most of our oil. During the COVID-19 thing, a lot of industries were short. They could not produce. So the demand for oil went down. In fact, a lot of our cargoes were in the high seas with nobody to receive those things. So eventually things started picking up. But the price of crude oil, that means things. One, if you don't, because there was a glut at the time, so Saudi Arabia and Russia, they had issues. Because both of them were the major producers within OPEC. So Russia is not in OPEC, but Saudi Arabia was in OPEC, but Russia was competing with them. So there was an understanding. So a lot of OPEC members had to cut production to be able to sustain the price. So when you look at the cut in the production and you look at the price at the international market, because we don't determine the price of crude, that means the income accruing to Nigeria as a state has reduced. You understand? So Nigeria cannot afford to continue to subsidize that product. So they now did this deregulation from backdoor to say, okay, let market forces determine what the price will be.
From backdoor?
No, why I say backdoor is that because it was not officially stated.
Because it was the NNPC, it was only NNPC that was importing oil.
NNPC was the one that was importing those petroleum products. And they are also the ones, the Petroleum Products Price Regulation Agency. It's also an agent of, it's also a subsidiary of NNPC. So NNPC is the one that is determining the price. I agree with that. But that does not change the fact that why NNPC decided that, okay, let us look at, at the time, what they said was that depending on what the price is, which is the landing price of that, of the petroleum products, will determine what the price will be. So the price was supposed to fluctuate. If the price of crude goes down, then the price will come down because it will determine what you are going to get in terms of landing costs. But the NLC and TUC should look for other things to see how they can ameliorate the challenges facing Nigerian workers. But if they insist that they want to revert to the old price, that is impossible. Because, you see, you cannot give what you don't have. Nigeria cannot afford it. That's the reality. We are in recession. The economy of this country is in recession. But we are 3%. So we have to face the reality. You see, the part of the problem is that Nigeria is like, they give the analogy, Nigeria is like a former bank manager that was a middle class person that used to live well, that now lost his job, and the members of his family still wants to live well the way they were living when he was a bank manager. The man has lost his job. He's now unemployed. They have to face the reality that
scale down.
They have to face the reality that this Nigeria
even change their location
cannot afford a lot of things. That is the reality. I can understand that, yes, TUC and NLC, that's their job to look for the best deal for Nigerian workers. But this time, the Nigerian state cannot afford it. It's just like the problem with the lecturers there. You understand? The lecturers want X amount of money, over 100 billion. And the government could not come up with that. So eventually, the government could come up to say, okay, we will come up with 60 million. But it's not possible for them to come up with all the money because they don't have it. So you have to compromise. So TNSC has to compromise.
BC, last week we were a little bit harsh on the Nigerian Labour Congress and TUC because I went ahead to even describe them as an arm of the All Progressive Congress. And a lot of people called me and, explanations here and there why that they don't have to, for the sake of patriotism, they don't have to resolve, going on strike should not be the last resort at any given time. That some Nigerians are so trigger happy, they want NLC and TUC to go on strike at any given time. But that's why they're looking as if there is an arm of a political party. What the explanation Mayor has given now, it's like catch-22 situation. So if you don't bite, Nigerians will talk. If you bite, some segment of Nigerians will talk. So the situation of NLC and TUC now, and what if you are to advise them, what should they do?
Well,
knowing feeling well that, look, this thing is just the stark reality that Nigeria is broke.
When they were addressing the media, part of the thing they actually said was that they are no longer free to walk among their people. That people think that they are not fighting for them, and that their lives are being threatened, that they could be attacked. And government does not seem to understand what they go through, because they are trying to show understanding with government on some of the steps that the government has taken, particularly in the case of increase in fuel and that of electricity tariff. You see, I don't really know what advice you can give to an angry and hungry man. Because if you want to look at Nigerian workers now, they are not only hungry, they are angry. It's not as if, yes, the reality is that the money is not there. But then the reality is also that these workers, the money they have is just nothing to do anything with, because of the rates of inflation. And, Nigeria is even in recession at the worst in 33 years, according to MBS. Now, what can they really do? I think the question we should be asking ourselves is, why should we remain in this situation? Why should Nigeria continue to rely on importation of a product that you manufacture, that you produce in your own country, a natural product? Who does that kind of thing? Who does that? Why should we take our crude for refining in another man's country and now spend huge forex, to bring it back?
Double or
triple the amount
that you export.
What stops us from doing this refining locally? For how many years have we gained independence that up to today we are still saying the same thing? Look, this issue of subsidy, it came up about 5 years ago. I remember that time, that was when government said, okay, there is not going to be subsidy again. The market price will determine it. And even you cannot even, if you increase your own price too much, other people may lower their own and people may go to them. And we've been used to this story. But why do we keep on saying the same story? Why can't we change the narrative? I think for me, I would rather the workers work on putting pressure on government to change this negative narrative that we have been used to for years. Because the truth is, we will continue to experience this thing if we continue with what we are doing. If we continue to rely on importation, in fact, this fuel price, we get to 500 naira. It is not a cost. It will keep increasing until we decide to do something, until we change what we are doing. If we don't, we are just...
Yes, I agree with you that we should change the narrative, because the problem basically is that the problem is not the money that we are paying. Because when you look at the market forces, it's not as if it's too high. That's the reality. The problem has to do that we have a government, with all respect to them, that do not know what they are doing. Or they are deliberately trying to be incompetent. Why did I say so? This government has been in power now for 5 years. It does not take more than 5 years to have modular refineries everywhere. How can any government that is serious have refineries that are not working? They acknowledge themselves that they have not refined zero product. and yet to spend millions of dollars to do turnaround maintenance.
Exactly.
Millions, over $200 million to do turnaround maintenance. So it's just a cesspit of corruption where some mafia within NNPC or just feel fat on us because it is in their interest for them to continue to import petroleum products.
And we keep paying staff salary for...
That's what I'm saying. Because what I'm saying is that it is, I feel embarrassed as a Nigerian. I feel embarrassed as a Nigerian that our country, our government, will sign an agreement, a trade agreement with Niger Republic to supply us petroleum products. We should be ashamed for that to happen.
Wow.
That Niger have a refinery and they have surplus because they don't even have the population to take over that thing. So the surplus will be sold to us. It is unbelievable. We have refineries that are there, and common sense know that what you need to do is that if you know that this refinery cannot work, you privatize it, sell it off. When you sell it off, then do modular refineries everywhere. You don't need to do big one. Now we are waiting for individual. Now there's going to be one that's going to be launched in Imo. Then we are waiting for Dangote.
Okay, I have my first caller. Adamu is calling us from Kaduna State. Thank you for joining us, Adamu.
Thank you. First and foremost, please, especially to Ali.
Hello, Adamu?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Please go ahead.
All right. I think the whole thing about the electricity tariff, the fuel hike, prices, and the rest. This is a critical decision to make, both between the federal government and the TUC and NUC, as well as the merchants who are involved in. I think the major thing here is not just about the fact that issues like this is not real. It is real. It is absolutely true that there is a problem, ranging from, inflation caused by so many things, especially the pandemic itself. But basically, I think where we're getting things wrong is the fact that the government itself, it fell in totality in trying to, address issues from the grassroots fundamentally. You see, the government officials and its other, tends to portray itself as a kind of banana republic, whereby their excesses are not caught on a daily basis. You see them.
All right. Thank you for your contribution, Adamu. I was actually struggling to get the audio, but the audio was muffled, so you can call back, but I didn't get the message. Now, before we went on, before I took that call, you were explaining something here.
Yes, I was saying that the only way we can solve the problem is for us to refine petroleum products in this country. If we continue to rely on importation, there is no way the price can go down. That is the reality. They know that. But like I said, those who import petroleum products on behalf of NNPC, they want it that way. That is just the irony of things. What is the problem with our refinery? They will just tell you that it's just like the same thing with power generation. Everything is piped to those places. And for you to sabotage it is just to go to one place and cut one of the pipes.
One other step of it is the electricity tariff.
The electricity tariff, that one is, you see, the electricity tariff, I want to appeal to NLC and TUC to say the problem with the electricity tariff is that right now, if you want to increase the tariff of electricity, then you must improve on the services being rendered. The problem now is that people don't get
step up.
Yes,
people
don't get value.
People are not meters.
People don't get value for what you want them to pay for. That is the problem with that one. That one is that for you to start that, you must first meter everybody.
Yes,
you must make sure that everybody is metered. Then when you do that, when you ensure that everybody is metered, then you can now determine usage. So when you ask people to pay,
they are paying for what?
Yes, they are paying for what they have used.
Just like my recharge cards.
Yes, they are paying for what they have used, and that is fair. So if you want if you want a commensurate price for the services you are rendering, it makes a lot of sense. It makes economic sense. Why I don't agree with the increase in tariff now is because they are not putting anything on the table. A lot of people still depend on estimated bill. So in other words, they don't give you a bill, they don't give you electricity. You may not have electricity for 1 week, maybe because of system collapse or the problem within transmission and all that. But they will still bring the same bill to you, the same amount of money. That is not fair. So if you now increase that, you cannot ask people to pay for what you didn't give them or what they have not used. So for you to do that, it's simple. Do the first step. The first step is to make sure that everywhere is metered and we can determine usage. When we determine usage, then you can collect the price. So if I know that I don't want to spend money, I will off all the lights in my house. If I have AC, I may not put the AC on and try to use fan if I want to bring my price down. But we must determine usage. So the first step, the first step is that, but they have to increase the price.
But some people will argue against what Mayor is saying. Some of the stakeholders, if you get to talk to them, they will tell you that when they bought this thing, you know, they bought it like on deficits, as in they inherited liability, inherited so many things that they couldn't get their infrastructure, they couldn't import, they can't import most of their equipment, they can't change most of their equipment, that they even had to deal with government, rely on government to bail them out. That if the tariff will continue to be like this, they might not be able to make commensurate investment into that sector. So they say the first thing we must do is to increase the tariff so that they will have enough money. They're in business, they're businessmen, to pay their overhead and at the same time invest and overhaul the sector.
You see, Nigeria, lots of aberrations take place in this country. Because when he was talking, I was just like, the last time I checked, I think this power sector has been privatized.
Yes.
Hasn't it been privatized?
Yes, that's why we have the equal distribution.
Exactly. So if it is privatized, why should anybody be talking about tariff hike or no tariff hike? If, for instance, the right things are done, just like you meter everybody. If you meter everybody and you increase your tariff, it is either you go and produce your own power, or I mean, it shouldn't even be government
like
business.
My mobile phone I'm using now.
Exactly, because
if they increase the tariff tomorrow now, I might not notice the increase because it's like it's always handy for me. It's efficient for me.
You need it.
I need it.
You need it, and then you know that you must.
I must try and.
But then, if a network increases its tariff beyond your,
you turn to another network.
That is what I think it should be. That is how I think it should be. But then coming to our own privatization issue that you mentioned, a lot of things were wrong with the way this power sector was privatized. If you look at the people that even bought into it in the first instance, were they capable? All over the world, power sector is capital intensive.
Very, very.
Very capital intensive. How much did they have? What did they even think they were going into? A lot of them probably thought they were coming in to even make money out of Nigerians.
Like the communications,
yes.
Communication industry.
Now, they got into it and they realized what was on ground. And how do you explain a situation where you want people to raise money for you to do your business? Is it done? You don't provide service and you want to increase tariff so that you can get money to do your business, to run your business before you can now. No, where does that work? It doesn't work that way. So we need to go back to the basics. The power sector, the discourse.
Okay, I have Foster. Foster is calling us from Warri at Delta. Oh, we lost Foster. Okay.
Yeah, so the discos, the GEMCOs, all of them, let them come, the discos in particular, let them buy meters for people. And also government has a problem.
Yes, too. So that they allow them to bring the meter.
The government also is not putting in its own financial contributions as it should. They will also tell you that. That is also a factor. And that is probably why the federal government chose to distribute 1 million meters
Yeah.
free of charge, you know, just to ameliorate some of these problems.
All right, we'll take this breather. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Journalist Hangout. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Like Western flesh and bandits are feeding fats on our collective psyche. Now they are committing sacrilege. In Zamfara State, dozens of armed bandits on motorcycles stormed the Juma'at Mosque in Dutchen, Gari, and whisked away the Imam and 30 worshippers during the congregational prayer. The bandits also killed 5 persons in the attack. It's like these guys continue to run riots, and for a long time here, Zamfara has been the hotbed for this banditry. I think it started in Zamfara. At the point in time, it left Zamfara, now came to Katsina. At the point in time, the military launched an operation in Zamfara, and most of them now came to Katsina. At the point in time, now moved to Niger. This thing is looking like something we cannot really handle.
You see, these governments have failed Nigerians because 5 years ago, one of the things they promised was the fight against corruption and to fight insecurity. If you remember at that time, Boko Haram almost was almost in complete control of so many towns and cities in the northeast. The bandits that are operating in Zamfara, there was a time the governor of Zamfara did quite well and was able to bring relative peace to the place. But I think we have to look at the security architecture again. Because when bandits know that they can get away with anything, they will do it. And it has gotten to a situation where the operatives have lost it. And I'll tell you, let me give you an example. When kidnapping started in Nigeria, it was in the Niger Delta. Then it was the white people, because of their way of life, and means the deprivation that was around them. So they were easy targets for people to kidnap and then demand ransom. Then they moved from there, they started kidnapping other people, not only white people. And then it got to a ridiculous extent that they were kidnapping people at one time between the southeast zone for as low as 50,000 naira, depending on the social class of that person that was kidnapped. So that's the kind of problem we are having in Zamfara. Now, we now have bandits everywhere roaming free. So the top people who were doing banditry on a large scale, cattle rustling, kidnapping people, sometimes delving into armed robbery, you understand? Now, there are now lesser ones who are brazen, who wants to do anything. Because you see, when you go to a mosque and you kidnap the imam and worshippers in that mosque, that means we're in deep trouble.
30 worshippers.
That's what I'm saying. That means because some of these people that were kidnapped may not even have enough money to feed themselves.
Just want to go and pray to their God.
You understand? Because it's not guaranteed. Because when you just go to a mosque and you just kidnap worshippers there, it's just that there's so much that the people are so confident that the military or the security forces are so helpless that they cannot do anything to them. Why would they not do that? Remember that just recently, they kidnapped, in that same neighborhood, they kidnapped police officers. ASPs that were sent to go and improve the security architecture in that place were kidnapped. And ransom were asked, were demanded for. So if we look at that, we should not be surprised that they will now kidnap an imam and helpless worshippers. Because what they just wanted was people that will pay them ransom. So this government has to, because I kept insisting that the primary duty of government is protection of lives and property. That is why people willingly surrender their sovereignty to the state. They believe that the state will protect them. If the state cannot protect its citizens, then they've lost the right to run the state. So this government has to do something about it.
But see, this is not Boko Haram now. These are bandits just running riots around the place.
I think right now the situation in Nigeria is so bad that people are no longer talking about government providing power, water, good health facilities, education. Now people are just like, just secure us. This is all we want from government. The level of insecurity is just too bad. And this thing did not start today. In fact, in 2018 in Kaduna, 2 priests were kidnapped in a church and about 18 worshippers in that Kaduna axis. So they've been doing these things. Then you now ask yourself, why should a problem keep persisting? And it seems we are all helpless about it. We've talked about, our security architecture, and it appears we are not really making much progress. Then, is there a way we can apply technology in fighting some of these insecurity issues? Let me just give you an example. We know that kidnappers thrive on communication. So, and if they thrive on communication, is there something we can do about our communication technology to track these kidnappers? In Saudi Arabia, for instance, you cannot register a SIM without putting your national ID number. You have to surrender your national ID number. Of course, we ask me how many Nigerians have national IDs. If you are a foreigner, you have to surrender your visa number before you can register a SIM in Saudi Arabia. And everything everything is monitored. Now, we have NCC in Nigeria that, oversees the activities of telecommunication industries. We are all supposed to register our SIMs, aren't we? All SIMs are supposed to be registered.
Yes.
Yet, these are the same SIMs that are being used to connect with families of kidnapped people. And they do these deals, they negotiate with families for weeks, sometimes for months, yet we can't trace these people. What is happening to us? Because if we have correct data, if we have that alone, we can use that to at least get people that are kidnapping people, looking at getting their conversation, at least after they must have released their victims. Now, somebody also told me that there are certain phones that will record conversation, that you can get it any day, anytime. But there are some phones that they are as useless as anything. That these kidnappers, whenever they have their victims, they remove the SIM and put it in all of these useless phones that, that do not have much communication features. And they use those phones to get in touch with the families of the kidnapped victims. Now, is it possible for us to ban such phones? I know it has repercussion in that, it will reduce the number of people that we probably have access to, the cheap ones. Yes, but then if we have a security problem, we then need to do something to solve our problem, because issue of kidnapping and banditry has become a major national security issue that we need to start thinking beyond just looking at our generals and they have failed us. We need to look beyond that to actually get workable solution to this problem. And I think applying technology to solving our problems may be one of the ways
talking
out.
about technology, we do have the technology.
Yes.
The Nigerian police.
I remember the IRT.
Yes,
but it's just that we can't replicate it everywhere.
That's what they use. They can monitor calls. They can trace people.
That's what they be using to bust.
Evans, the kidnapper. They
But
track this one. That's what I'm saying. The major problem that we have
not being able to replicate it everywhere
is the key, because of the helplessness of the citizens. When they are contacted, in most cases, they don't go to the police because they know that the police may not be in a position to help them and they don't want to lose their loved ones, so they comply. That is the first problem. The second one is that the police are overwhelmed for one reason or the other, so they don't assist. Even sometimes police people even help you to pay ransom to exchange with the kidnappers. So people know that, oh, we are helpless. The best we can do is to do what these people want,
okay,
so that we don't lose our loved ones.
Peter is calling us from Jalingo, Taraba State. Thank you for staying with us, Peter. Good evening, Peter.
Yeah, good evening. Your guest, that's good.
Good evening.
Thank you, sir.
I want to say, no, this is a country just like a family. You see, if there's things you see in a family or situation you are, you call your people, you call people around. Let's discuss this thing. What is happening to us? You see, I think we don't have elders in this country. I think we don't have people to rally down and let people gather and speak. Bring contribution, add their own opinion. How do we get out of this? Governments are just going their own, the people going on their own as if they are not running. Because if the government feel helpless, let them call the people. Let's sit and talk. I see when they talk about community policing or state police, they start talking about constitution. Need to amend the constitution. Do we get this permission from Donald Trump to amend the constitution? Government, president should tell the House, this is my bill, let's amend this, so that I can get results. But everybody just keeping quiet as if nobody to talk. If we were gotten to a situation that our president has talked to anybody concerned, if this constitution needs to be amended, if they stand that they can amend this constitution, even in the week it can be amended, let's solve our problem.
Thank you. Thank you, Kule. I'm Peter from Jalingo there.
From Jalingo. What Peter is saying, which I agree with, is that there's a need for
government
state police and community police.
Government to even call stakeholders.
Yes.
How do we solve this idea?
Because what he's saying, which I agree with, is that if the government feel helpless, then let them try to call people for us to be able to sit down, which we have done. We've done in the past. There was a conference. They came up with recommendations.
For this insecurity.
For this insecurity. For this insecurity. For the state police, the problem is that the state police, you need to
amend the constitution.
Which I think that if we take it seriously enough, what he's saying is that the government can sit down with the National Assembly and they can do this. They can do that. The only thing the government is trying to do now is community policing, which is not really the same thing with state police. You understand? So I think the solution is state police. Let each state add to the security architecture as presently constituted, so that it's not only the federal government's duty to secure the country. Each state, apart from the federal government, can secure their own states. And they will help because they will understand their states more. Every crime is local. So state police will be more effective than this federal police. In other words, if you are in Zamfara and you have a state police in Zamfara and you have police officers from Zamfara, from different villages and towns in Zamfara, as members of the police force in Zamfara, they will understand how to tackle this banditry better. because they know the terrain.
The local guys.
Yeah, they know the local guys. They know they will be able to gather intelligence. Intelligence gathering will be much easier for them. And then there will be more financial support, because each state will have to now handle their own state police. The earlier we do that, the better. We've been talking about this state police, but the way the security situation is going in this country, there is need for us to have a state police.
Victor is calling us from Ibadan. That's Oyo State. Thank you, Victor.
Hello?
Yes. Many thanks for joining us.
Yeah, what I want to talk about.
Just
You are talking about, you are talking about all this. Hello, you are hearing me?
yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, that's Victor from.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you are talking about the banditry, about the security and other things. You see, the problem we are having is that, you see, this banditry can never end. You see, the problem we are having is this national, you talk of national ID card, how you are going to, you see, we are all not properly registered. I want you to know that. We are not registered. And you see, we...
Wow. Okay, if I can get it from Victor's drift. We have our BVN from the banks now.
Yeah.
We have our driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
We have our INEC voter card. We also have, what other thing? I think we have the NIM thing that has been
Yeah.
And there have not been any efforts to synchronize all this and make sure that Nigerians would actually do have a database.
Now the
for planning. Okay.
The NIM has been known since Obasanjo's
NIMC. Yeah.
Since Obasanjo's regime. Now, how long is that? Obasanjo was here for 8 years.
Yeah.
Jonathan and Yaradua, 8 years.
Yeah.
That's 16 years. Then another 5 years.
The project suffered setback along the line.
Okay, now. So no, the point is, if we are really a serious-minded country, why can't we put this program through? Have you tried to register for that NIL? In fact,
frustrating.
it's like a camel passing through the needle,
eye
of a needle.
And it's as basic as we don't even know how many, when was the last time we did population census?
That one.
To just know that, and this thing
we
is
don't
meant to be...
even know how many we are in Nigeria.
I think the last time was 2006.
And we keep on telling ourselves that we are over 200 million. We don't know how many we have.
We cannot do census because of politics.
Yeah, okay.
Some people over the census that was done are judged to be certain amount of people lives in a particular geopolitical zone, and they have been rewarded from the national pulse based on that. So if you do a census that puts a lie to what I've been told, that means we're going to lose a lot of
That's
income.
if we are sure that it's a lie.
No, that's what I'm saying. That if you do a census and it is different, so some people will not allow that to happen.
Probably some people also who felt there was a lie are also probably thinking of how to put in some lies.
Because the former MD of MBL, Odumegu, wanted to do that, and it was frustrated.
It was frustrated. Yes, it was frustrated.
Okay, I have Joe calling us. Thank you for joining us, Joe. Hello? Okay. So, we're still talking about that, the database stroke.
Yeah, I think we know solutions to our problems. Just that for one reason or the other, we don't want to apply the solution. Because I don't really see why we are not interested in knowing how, in registering people, and for every Nigerian to have national ID card. Because if you have it, then it means that we can plan. Then it means that a lot of lies can be debunked. Probably those who are frustrating this are benefiting from some lies here and there, because that is the only explanation I can give to this now. I don't think it's such a rocket science for people to have a national identity card.
The aim and objective of this is that when a crime is committed somewhere and you have fingerprints everywhere, it's not as if we're going to... We have forensic lab, but how do you identify those people? When it's not as if we have...
They know the advantages of all of these things.
We have fingerprinted...
For that to be effective, you have to have a bank.
We have to have a bank.
You have to have everybody's bank. And then you have to have a database that you can check.
They'll just run the scan, and your face just come out.
Why did these Britons and Americans prevent all this olori that used to be prevalent?
Yes.
In those days.
Yes.
That is what ended.
Yes.
Now, so and it's not as if Nigeria
if you enter the U.S. consulate now, the first thing, maybe you are interviewed or not.
You have to,
yes. Because that's what will confirm who you claim.
And that goes into the central server. When you go to another place
we are not starting any new technology. This technology is already there. It's not as if we are doing anything new. In fact, the tree has been planted. All that we need has been harvested. All we just need to do is to pick these things and use. And talking about state policing, in Zamfara, for instance, how many policemen do we have there? The record I have, I think they said they have just 2,000 policemen in the entire state, about 400 riot policemen. Now, what is that in a state as big as the population of Switzerland, for instance? So you have just 2,000 policemen. They will surely be overwhelmed. And you have such a level of insecurity. And that is what we have all around the country. And the more reason why we need to start taking this issue of state policing very, very seriously. Because states should invest more in securing their people. And I guess these governors will be ready to do that. A lot of them have also been talking about the importance of state policing. Look at this Amotekun, for instance. How much also can Amotekun accomplish? Because Amotekun on its own is just like a community police outfit, and there is...
They whittle down the power.
Yes, and there is...
They don't bear arms.
They don't bear arms. There is a level of...
Okay, I have Victor from Ondo State, Ogun State. Thank you for joining us, Victor.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, Victor.
I can hear you guys speaking about security. I just want to chip in that there are some major things that need to be put in place before we can talk of good security things. If there's no good, nice road network, there's no electricity, how do you fight crime? It is impossible. These are the things we should put in place first. I live in the UK. There are good road network. There's light everywhere. You can see the bandits. You can, if you want to chase them, there are good road network where you can corner them from left, right, and center. We don't have good roads. There's no electricity. So why are we talking about security when we don't have all these things in place? That's my little contribution. Thank you very much.
Victor has taken it a notch higher. That's okay. We are even talking about identity.
We agree that we don't have good roads.
No, he's talking about basic electricity.
That's what I'm saying. We agree that we don't have electricity. We agree that we don't have roads. But that has nothing to do with security. We can still do better in our security, despite the fact that we don't have good roads and we don't have electricity. We know that as a developing country, Nigeria has not fulfilled its potentials. There's no question about that. And the major problem, the major embarrassment that you look at is our electricity. In 21st century, if you cannot generate the electricity that you need, which is very important in all forms of production, when you look at production, or any form of business that you want to do. Electricity is very important. Yes, we acknowledge that, but we should not, while we are working on electricity, while the government is working on infrastructural development, while the government is working on roads, let them do more on this security issue.
Okay, we have to move on now. We are saddened by another unpalatable story from the theater of war against insurgency in the northeast. A daring attack by Boko Haram faction of ISWAP in 5 gun trucks along Gejira Moguno Road, that in Borno State, left 3 soldiers and 2 members of the civilian JTF dead. Several others were wounded in the ambush on the convoy, comprising military personnel, members of the newly recruited civilian JTF. I think it's still the same security story.
Exactly.
And it's very, this one is the northeast now. And this one is Boko Haram proper. So those ones are just bandits ravaging some parts of the country. But this one has been there since 2009, and it has been a very big challenge. And the theater of war has been Yobe, Adamawa, and Adamawa partly, and Borno State. Borno State has been the epicenter. Let's just put it like that. So we said the ISWA faction in 5 gun trucks along the Gejira Moguno Road, 3 soldiers and 2 members of civilian JTF. And these guys, I don't know how they keep recruiting. If you see the airstrike that we've carried out and the number of times that we've, ambushed and killed their leaders and their recruits, but they keep multiplying.
I don't even know how many shekels this Boko Haram has, because we've been killing the shekels of this.
That one is like a cat with 9 lives.
That was just a fake thing of our leaders.
We keep killing
our commanders.
We keep killing him, the leader, and at the end of the day, this thing keeps.
He released a video last week.
That another one was killed. Yeah, so we keep killing and killing since 2009.
Even this ISWAP faction,
you see the problem with ISWAP.
They are stronger than the.
Because ISWAP, the difference is that ISWAP is the wing of ISIS. They are the one that are ISIS West Africa. And the problem that we have with ISWAP is that unlike Shekau, you see Shekau is the old structure, but they don't have the efficiency and the funding of ISWAP. Because ISWAP is affiliated to ISIS, they have proper funding. But not only that do they have proper funding, they also have foreign soldiers, foreign fighters.
Mercenaries.
They have foreign fighters. Because if you remember that when ISIS was at the peak, they had a caliphate that stretched from northern Syria to northern Iraq. So when the caliphate was defeated, they dispersed everywhere. And normally a lot of fighters used to come from different parts of the world to fight in the name of the caliphate when ISIS was still there. So when the caliphate was defeated, a lot of these fighters who were professional fighters, they moved from one theater of war to another, fighting jihad. A lot of them joined ISWAP. So they are experienced.
To strengthen ISWAP.
They are experienced, they are hardened, they fought so many wars. That's problem. That's problem 1. 2, they have funding, because ISIS had a lot of people who are sympathetic to what they do, rich people all over the Islamic world who contribute a lot of money. ISIS, remember that when they were running the caliphate, they were making a lot of money because they were selling oil. They had a lot of money. So ISWAP had funding. And that's why that's why they keep giving us that problem. And then we have to look at that this is not a conventional war. No matter how good you are, you cannot win a war against terrorists. You can suppress them, but you cannot defeat them completely. Because the theater of war is not defined. It is mobile. It is fluid. So they keep moving. At a time, we'll be able to have upper hand. There was a time we were able to push them away from Sambisa. There was a time we were able to push them towards the Lake Chad region. You understand? But you cannot, because when you overpower them, they will disperse because they are very free, they are very mobile. They can they can blend into villages around both Cameroon, Nigeria, and Niger. So they will lie low for some time. Then again, they will plan, and then they will come. And because it is ambush, there's nothing you can do. Because the person that wants to ambush you has already set a trap for you. So it's either you stay, that's one of the reasons why the Nigerian army changed their tactics and they start having the super camps. Because the essence of the super camp is that it will be difficult for these people to just come and attack us and overrun us. But when you decide to be in those places, it's easier for them. Okay, so except you don't want to apply those highways.
I have Professor Abigail from UNILAC. Thank you for joining us. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
And thank you for the beautiful job. I was listening to the issue of insecurity.
All right, go ahead.
Banditry. Yes, banditry and terrorism. I think that we have been talking much about reactive approach to this issue. As a country, I think we need to be more preventive, apart from the use of technology in tracking crime. We need to talk about the number of out-of-school children, the underprivileged people, the vulnerable children. When photographs of bandits and all those terrorists, people who are involved in crime, you look at them, they are people from the less privileged homes. Nigerian government will have to be deliberate about the number of children in school, vocation, they have means of livelihood. Without that, what we will see generally is what we are getting now. So we need to be more strategic in dealing with insecurity, dealing with banditry. If you go to other parts of the world, they have the number of children, they track them. Parents are brought to book for not taking their children to ensuring child development. So when you see children working in the quarry, children working in cocoa plantation, doing all sorts of hazardous labor, when they come out, they feel from and they take it from the time. So I would rather that the government also, apart from this reality, should begin to look at preventive strategy in terms of child development. Thank you very much.
Yes, Professor Abigail Ogwezi, she used to be the head of mass communication of University of Lagos Mass Communication Department. Thank you, Professor. She's always watching Journalist Hangout. She's a fan of Journalist Hangout. Thank you, Prof, for always keeping faith with us on the show. Now we're talking. She was talking about it's not something that we should be preventive, and was talking about even the foundation, how we get recruits out of school children. When you go to the northern part of the country, you discover that, man, it is alarming. Yes,
we discussed this, I think 2 weeks ago, that I mentioned what Governor Masari of Katsina State said at a time that the children we've refused to send to school are the ones now occupying our bushes, and they are now coming to attack us as bandits. That was the way the governor put it, and that is the absolute truth. Those children, the bandits are the creation of our society.
When you see the Amajiri culture, when you see the way.
Thank God that they are working on the Alimajiri system now. At least the northern governors and
they've all agreed together.
They've agreed that it's a problem. But you see, the problem of the so-called 18 million out-of-school children, majority of whom are in the north, I'm sure they will have been more than the 13 million because we always rely on data from outside the country. Now, over 30 million, imagine that, out of school children, and majority of them in the north. These are the children that will also get married at probably age of 13, give birth to another army of Alimanjiris. Or
something their grandmothers.
Yeah, now at the end of the day, they don't have anything to do, no social security of any kind for these children. They must survive. And you see, the real problem we are having right now is that you mentioned something about the fact that these ISIS, this ISWAP, they are well funded, which means that they can easily recruit these people. And these are easy recruits for them. And as a nation, are we saying that we should keep on spending, we prefer to keep on spending money to fight Boko Haram, ISWAP, and the rest than spending money to educate children that could easily be recruited?
So the root cause of it.
The root cause of this thing. So I think I agree with her. We need to go to the foundation because we are just attacking the effect.
Yes.
We need to actually tackle the problem. And that is why some developed countries, they invest money. They will tell you that even if you bring your own child as illegal immigrant to UK, for instance, they won't say because you are illegal and allow your child to be roaming. They will accept that child to their system because they know the implication of breeding, allowing a child not to be educated. They know that it will be a problem on the society. I think we should love ourselves. We should know that, our leaders should know that when they do the right thing, they are actually working for themselves to make the entire community and society conducive for living for everyone in the society, instead of just thinking that they are doing some people some kind of favors.
Okay, moving on now, let's talk politics. Now the dust raised by the visit of governors on the platform of the All Progressive Congress, APC, to former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan is still on the rise. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, criticized the move, describing it as a tacit approval of its achievements. The APC, on the other hand, says the PDP is rattled by the visits. Meanwhile, the Association of Ebonyi State Indigenes in the Diaspora wants the State House of Assembly to embark on impeachment of Governor Dave Umahi over his defection to APC. The group, in a statement, said there is no crisis forcing Umahi out of the PDP, hence he needs to be impeached. Mayor, 2023 loading.
Absolutely, 2023 loading. You see, why it is very interesting. And why it is very interesting is that, yes, the PDP governors and PDP bigwigs will be rattled with that visit. But there is a rumor that the northern establishment within APC know that it is almost impossible for them to insist that power will not come to the south by giving the rotation. It is not in the constitution, but it has become the informal arrangement. So, according to rumors, the rumor is that the northern establishment within the party want a situation where power will come to the south for 4 years and go back to the north. For them to achieve that, they think that somebody like Jonathan
is the best bet.
Who have done one term.
Has taken the oath of office.
Who have done one term is their best, because if Jonathan becomes by either out of a commission becomes the president, he can only spend one term. And that has established that power has shifted to the south and then to go back to the north. When the rumors started,
where are these people from?
When the rumors started, everybody said it was preposterous. It's not possible. We'll go back to Jonathan. You understand? But you see, in politics, 24 hours is a long time in politics.
Even the British bride now.
Yeah, 24 hours is a very long time. But don't forget that the last election in Bayelsa, where he's from, he supported an APC candidate against his own candidate. So it is not impossible that if some people may decide that, this
particular visit led by the Yobe State Governor and the interim chairman, caretaker chairman of APC, and Dave Umahi, and I can see.
That's what I'm saying. Because you see, Dave Umahi just moved.
They're APC guys, and they didn't bring along any PDP governor. And they just said they came to visit him in his 63rd.
Let me give you one example. When APC was formed, and they were trying to seek power, remember that they went to Abeokuta to visit Obasanjo. And what they told Obasanjo was that we are just here to say hello to you. As Pathfinder, we just wanted to do this and that. In politics, that's what I'm saying. That's how you are a political compass. it is not impossible that the visit is part of the scheming for 2023. It's not that it is the entire party that have decided on that, but there are some elements within the party who are already looking at it that, no, okay, the power will come to the south. If it comes to the south, it's either it goes to the southwest, the south-south, or southeast. You understand? So they may decide that, look, we know that these people will go there. If power shifts to the south, that's another 8 years before it comes back to us.
And because of that,
why don't we look for somebody?
That 2015 move by Jonathan, his stock, as in his profile, so to say.
Oh yes, because you see, in politics, there's no permanent friends, no permanent enemy in politics. What is permanent is interest. If some people think that it will serve their interest, though I think it will be a long sell. But you see, cannot say that it is not possible because the rumor has been on. Everybody disregarded it. But this visit shows that some people might be thinking along that line. Whether they will succeed is another matter. But for the Dave May, you see that some people said want the members of the assembly to impeach it. It's a tall order. Because we know that in most cases, especially in some of these states, the governor is in charge of the party. And his people and cronies. Yes, his peoples and cronies are everywhere. They decide that. So for him to be impeached is a tall order. You know, it's a tall order. This is the first time a governor will move from one party to another.
Let's talk politics. You see, you want to look at all of a sudden a region that is like 100% or 95%, red. We want to change to green. That's red in terms of PDP. And you know that this position in the southeast, that it's like a natural thing that PDP is, apart from my people, that change the tide in Imo States. Yeah. Do you understand? It's like a natural enclave of the People's Democratic Party. Now David Mahi just turned green all of a sudden. What are the calculations?
Well, 2023. Though the man has told us that he's waiting on God, and the way our politicians just bring God into their thing in this country amazes me. He has said that he's waiting on God for direction and the rest. Think that all of us, we are babies, that he can just come and say some things too. Look,
he even pick the ticket within the APC.
He cannot get anything now. Anyway, I cannot say that I cannot get anything because
it will be very difficult.
It will be very difficult. Now, and then the fact
you want to reap where you doing so?
I don't know where you just came from somewhere. And look at this man that left PDP complaining that he one complaint or the other. Now, you were in PDP all your life, all the positions that you have held, you got those positions through PDP.
He was the deputy governor, was
chairman of the party. Now,
from Governor Sam Egu to Martin Elechi, from Elechi Elechi, now is the third person since 1999.
Now, and you got a second term in office, and your second term is about to expire. You are now thinking of 2023, and you think you can tell us that you have. Why didn't you leave all these years? Then the people in APC, are they sleeping? All the ones that started the party with them.
Or the legacy party that came together.
So they formed that party for you, so that you can come and become the president. Anyway, let's see how it goes.
Politicians are incredible.
For some time now, Dave Mahi has been like hobnobbing with the APC.
Yeah.
Before now.
Even before now.
Yes.
That's true.
He has confirmed in many fora that
he's a friend to Mr. President.
Regardless, that's
you see,
my big PDP.
Yeah, I'm saying that politicians are incurable optimists. In fact, you need to be an incurable optimist to be a good politician. Because you will see a politician that may look hopeless, but you want to contest an election. You must have the belief that you can win. For you to be able to contest that election. So they are risk takers. They know that you have to take the risk first to know whether you can win or not. So my calculation is that after President Muhammadu Buhari, power must come to the south. For power to come to the south, you understand, then southeast and southwest.
South, okay.
Because of Goodluck Jonathan, who is from south. So it is now basically between southwest and southeast. And his own calculation will be that for fairness, people will say, if we want to say that we have one country and we want to be fair to all the geopolitical zones, it is the southeast deserve to present the presidential candidates, because the southwest have had a shot at it, the south have had a shot at it. So it is only the southeast that is left to take a shot at it. So Umahi believes that it is important for me to position myself. I have nothing to lose. If I stay in PDP, there's no guarantee that I'm going to get it, because the feelers does not show that PDP, because they want a guarantee that PDP will zone the presidency to the southeast. A guarantee that PDP is not ready to give.
No, in fact, I will tell you that with the structure of PDP now, it will be difficult for PDP to rotate the president to the south. Because we have the Atiku block, very strong block, and the Wike
block is behind Tambuwa.
Yes, so equally strong. That they want to reenact the 2019 rivalry.
It's likely that it might go to the north. You understand? So if they do that, he believes that, look, I don't stand a chance here. But if I move if I move to APC, it is not. There's no guarantee that I will get it. But let me. At least I'll be in a position to position myself for it, because you cannot be sure. Or you may decide to say, okay, if some forces within these people say, okay, we want to file behind this guy, I can also position myself to be a major player. That's one of the reasons why he's aligning himself with Blood Jonathan Helly. But I think, to me, but I can understand the politics is playing.
Politicians,
but PDP, Ebonyi is a PDP state. Yes. That Umahi has moved to APC does not change that fact. If there's an election tomorrow in Ebonyi, PDP will take that state.
Ebonyi is red.
And you can also see that is why even his people didn't join in.
Because
they are smarter
it's
than
only
that.
All the major people, all the key people in that state, they follow him.
They are smarter than
that. Okay, we have Ruben from Sapele. Thank you for joining us, Ruben.
Okay, good evening, Ayo and crew.
Good evening, Ruben.
You see, I'll just quickly touch on two issues.
Okay, quickly.
Insecurity stuff you talked about. You see, we're complaining about banditry in the north, and maybe in Middle Belt as well. But I think that it's not about getting those infrastructures, like you said, the roads, lights, and what have you. We need to look at our camps, the national camp, the NOSC, because it matters. Like what did they say? And this is sometimes
I can hardly hear you.
How many personnel do we have in the northeast covering these areas? We need to check sure that we take the fittest among them.
That audio is not okay. I can hardly hear Ruben. So,
if I can hear, what he said was that we have to look at the personnel that they have in Northeast. How many personnel do we have? Just like Madam said about Zamfara, that they had 2,000 policemen. That how many personnel do we have in the Northeast to be able to take care of this swap there and the personnel in there? What you're saying is that we don't have people on ground to be able to tackle the mandatory.
You see, let me go back to the subject matter now. And during the NSAS protests, Nigerians realized that the youths can effectively effect a paradigm shift, a change, in the polity, if they can organize and stop agonizing, if they can come together as, let's say, a political party, that it's possible for the youth to upstage the PDP, APC, and we'll be calling them their oppressor. That the party these parties since 1999, they've not been able to, give us
to come together.
Yes, no.
And when they come together, they will win elections.
As in the youths.
Which youths?
The youth, the NSAS people coming together.
Shore was not a youth.
Okay.
No. Shore is still part of them.
What of that Fela Durotoye? Did they contest the election the last time?
No, that time there was no NSAS. Now that you know
Madam,
the awareness,
politics, NSAS is a different thing. You see, when you mobilize the youth, they did very well in terms of mobilization and all that. But when it comes to politics and voting, it's a different ball game.
I know.
It's a different ball game. The last election, people knew Fela Nicola Pokuti when he was very popular. When the youth were in love with Fela ran for president in this country.
They don't vote.
Ganifawa Emin was fighting for the oppressed.
That Ganifawa Emin's own shows me that Nigerians like suffering.
No, politics is a different thing. Let me tell you something. See, politics is different from what they're saying.
Okay, let me pick this call. I think we're from Lagos.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, I want to make a comment. My contribution is in relation to the APC governors.
Oh, go ahead.
Going to meet the ex-president, Goodluck Jonathan. My own deduction out of this thing is that Nigerians should just know that there's no hope for the common man in this country. There's no hope. Politicians are to themselves alone, and that's just it. If you look at President Goodluck Jonathan's government, that is characterized with I can call it the best corruption in this country. The wife also got involved in what could not be described. The Minister for Petroleum Resources is a landmark act on the part of a woman. Is the best. No, I can't just.
There's no case against her. Nobody has substantiated anything against her. She's in the UK now. And they've not been able to prosecute her.
In a Senate country, I think we should bury our head. There's no hope.
Okay.
There's no hope for the common man in this country.
Okay, I see hope.
Actually, what I was about to say when you were talking about the youth is the fact that looking at the way politicians take us for granted in this country is so interesting. The way they look at us as if Nigerians are so stupid, so foolish, and they have no brains. And really, I think they have the right to do that because Nigerians, to a large extent, have behaved as if we are really so stupid and foolish. Otherwise, I do not see any reason why anybody could have it at the back of his mind that could even imagine that imagination, no matter how far-stretched it is, that a Jonathan can possibly come back to be Nigeria's president. I don't know what they take us for, or the things that they think, our expectations, how they think, what they define as Nigerians' expectations. I don't actually know. This is not to say, I'm not even trying to compare government or governance between one regime or the other. I'm just looking at what these politicians that have been ruling us, what they represent, and what we have been getting from them. And the fact that in spite of all our complaints, they can still go back to that old order. I think we should be thinking of a new order.
APC and PDP, that is the same of the same.
Exactly. That we should be thinking of a new order right now.
That's a vehicle for convenience.
I said, you know, the youth that you're talking about, it's just unfortunate that for the youth to make any progress, it's still a long way. But then let them start from somewhere.
Okay. You know why politics is about interest? When you look at the NSAS, one of the major problems that NSAS had was the fact that they said they didn't have leaders. People said, okay, and try to appoint some people to negotiate with government so that they can, government have accepted your 5 for 5. So pick some people among yourself so that they can negotiate with government. They said, no, we don't have leaders. All of us are leaders. So how can those people now form a political party and win elections? You see, because politics is about interest. That is why it's not the best material that wins election. It's the interest. That is why maybe a local man or a local baba or a tailor in the neighborhood could defeat a professor when it comes to councillor election in the neighborhood. Because people will say, no, this professor will just come in and be talking big grammar. We know this tailor. He's always been one of us. That's the person we want. That is how politics is. So it's not the best material that wins. So it is even difficult for them. When it comes to interest that we want to end SARS, we want better government.
Aruna is calling us from Gori. Thank you for joining us, Aruna.
Good evening.
Good evening, Haruna.
Am I on to journalist angle?
Yes, so.
Okay, my name is Mohammed Harun Mohammed.
All right.
I'm calling from Wari.
Wari.
I want to contribute on the insecurity matter.
Okay.
Especially in banditry in the north and by extension Boko Haram.
Quickly.
You see, a professor called, and I like her contribution. Sincerely speaking, this about education we always say, but let us cast our mind back to how it started. Do you know the fire, or I will call it the fire of the Boko Haram, are people who are well educated? I don't know what kind of ideology was put into them. They were even telling their certificates, NCE, degree, master's. They destroyed it, and they became part of Boko Haram. So I want to say the relation of education and insecurity, we may get into, go back to university cultism, like in Benin, whereby you will see cult activity that will translate into insecurity.
Thank you, Aruna. Thank you for your contribution. And going back to...
That's another dimension, yes.
Yes,
that's another dimension.
Exclusive.
Yeah, because Prof's argument is that cause and effects. That right now we concentrate more on the effects. We should look at the cause and the reasons that made it possible for us to have this banditry and this one. And it's because of the pool of unemployed youth and who is easy, who we didn't take care of, which this state we have to, because in other climes they have social welfare to take care of the vulnerable within the society, which we don't do. Okay. So in power, when you look at that, that's why it's not, it's the interest that matters. That's why you will see that
the
youth can,
the
only thing I can say
now, they have seen that,
yes,
look, these elderly people,
let me advise,
political parties,
the Nigerian youth, for them to seize power,
their own interests.
For them to seize power,
yes,
not to form their own political party.
Yes.
I'm not even
it's for them to join the existing party and take over those parties. Because politics is about numbers. You understand? Especially presidential system of government is very expensive. You understand? And you need a lot of infrastructure to be able to even stand a chance. You understand? And when you form a new party, it is difficult for you to be able to achieve those things. So what you need to do is to go within existing structures and take over those structures. Because if you have a lot of youths within a place, when they want to vote for councillor or vote for party chairman,
these youths, do you think they'll be interested in the old order, PDP, APC?
I don't even, are they even registered voters? Let's start from there. I think when I was talking about youth, what I mean is that they should show more interest. And of course, they may not be the ones that will go in, but they will be the one that will determine.
Yes, that's what they need to do. Yes,
I am interested.
Because if they are members, they will be able to vote for who will be chairman, who will be secretary.
They have the number to determine who goes in, and those
so first
who
of
go
all,
in,
participate in the process.
Register to take over the process.
Yes, and then they now decide whether it is this old order of PDP or an APC that they want. And I doubt if these youths will want that old order. But without registering, what can they?
Thank you for your contribution. Olabisi Deji Folutile, thank you. And for our viewers that have been asking me, where is BKO? Where is BKO? BKO is somewhere in Abuja. Tomorrow, hopefully, BKO will be live and direct with us. Journalist hangout after a long vacation. He has been traversing the length and breadth of the northern part of Nigeria. So tomorrow we have enough gist for us. So that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another edition of the program. You can also watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/TBC News. Nigeria, I'm Ayodele Uzubaku. See you tomorrow, and God bless Nigeria.